Isso, então o Vinícius Ferreira pergunta aqui como foi a criação da Vértigo, como foi mapeada a demanda do público adulto para quadrinhos dos anos 80. Mr. Levitz, we have a question from Vinícius Ferreira. He asks, how was the creation of Vertigo, and how was the adult audience demand mapped to produce comic books in the 80s?
So, two very different questions.
Mm-hmm.
So Karen had begun to produce more and more material as an editor that was a different flavor than most of DC. The joke was this was the Bergerverse. We were in the first years when the comic shop market had passed the newsstand market, when we felt like there was an opportunity to get an older audience solidly into the comics. When we looked at what it would take to build on that properly, we thought about doing an imprint, offered that idea to Karen. She went back and forth thinking about how to brand it properly. There were a list of names, I think, at one point, and Vertigo was picked off the list. But a large part of it was also that Vertigo was going to run differently than the rest of DC. It was going to be more writer-driven, a little less artist-driven. Sorry, Daniel. We would use painted covers on most of their books, not on most of the regular DC books. We would also try to treat the talent more, we called it authorially, like authors were in book publishing. Not so much that the deals would be book publishing deals. We weren't at a stage where we could do that yet, but where we would give them input and influence beyond the piece of the work that they were doing. The writer would be able to look at the art and make suggestions. The writer might see color schemes and approve them or have suggestions for that. Things that were not customary in the traditional DC universe at that time. The other piece of your question, how did we map reaching the adult audience? Comics never spent a lot of energy on giant marketing research plans. Occasionally we did some market research, but it was very minor. Or gigantic battle plans. Mostly it was built on a, let's do it and see if they show up.
Good times.
We had momentum from Vertigo. It was important to us, so we started to put more resources behind it. But there wasn't a giant battle plan. The battle plan was to try and find readers wherever we could. Some of our imprint efforts, like Piranha, went nowhere, unfortunately. Some wonderful ones. Milestone did a lot of great work, but was not a grand commercial success. Vertigo was both great creatively and ultimately commercially, and there was a point at which it had passed Dark Horse to be the fourth largest publisher if you counted it separately. It didn't sustain that, but held that for a few years. It was very impressive for still what remained a very basic small line.
Então ele comenta ali como foram duas perguntas separadas, né? O trabalho com a Karen, assim, ela já vinha publicando algumas coisas que tinham mais essa pegada adulta, eles já estavam vendo que tinha alguma coisa diferente sendo publicada, eles sentiram ali a questão de uma oportunidade, né? Então eles acabaram sugerindo fazer uma coisa então impressa disso, uma coisa para publicar realmente um material, passaram para Karen, né? Então foi todo um processo de idas e vindas, de escolhas dos nomes, né? Então assim, diz que tinha uma lista de nomes possíveis para esse novo selo e acabou Vertigo pegando, né? Então diz que era para ser realmente uma pegada diferente, focada mais no escritor do que no artista, e aí ele pede desculpas a Daniel, né? Então tinha todo esse aspecto mais autoral, né? Então de ter essa relação do escritor com o desenhista, de poder dar mais sugestões no que estava sendo feito, na arte, enfim. Outro aspecto editorial é que as capas eram pintadas, então todas elas seriam pintadas, bem diferente do que estava sendo feito na DC Comics. Então, assim, se fosse considerar como uma editora separada, ele comenta ali que eles passaram a Dark Horse, né, em termos de número de publicação, que era algo realmente bem impressionante, né. Então, aí, quando ele começa a falar da parte do público adulto, diz que o mercado nunca foi, assim, de fazer uma grande pesquisa na época, de tentar mapear os interesses dos leitores, realmente, né? Então era meio assim do tipo, cara, vamos fazer e vamos ver se eles vêm, né? Construa, eles virão, né? Então era mais assim, vamos ver se dá certo isso, né? Ele fala assim, a gente teve algumas iniciativas que não deu certo, ele menciona a Milestone, por exemplo, que não foi um sucesso comercial, mas a Vertigo, por exemplo, foi, né? Então é mais nessa linha aí.